Thanks for tuning in to the Marvel Movie Minute.
Want to skip those pesky ads and get early access?
Become a member at truestory.fm/join and discover all the other great perks that come with it.
Welcome back to the Marvel Movie Minute, a daily podcast in which we assemble to explore the films of the Marvel Cinematic Universe 5 minutes at a time. In this, our 8th season, we're looking at Thor: The Dark World. I'm Matthew Fox.
And I'm Pete Wright.
And today we're talking about minutes 10 through 15, in which romance is in the air, because it begins as Odin tries to nudge Thor towards Lady Sif, and ends as Darcy crashes a date of Lady Jane.
We open on Asgard, where Odin is doing his best disappointed dad, who's also a god, routine, while Thor broods in peak Hemsworthian silence. They're overlooking a training ground because, as it turns out, being royalty means all serious conversations must take place on balconies. Thor, clearly suffering from a terminal case of missing my girlfrienditis, barely registers the muscle flexing below and instead proceeds to take a sad boy shower, shirtless, because this is still a Marvel movie and they know their audience.
Yes, they do.
Cut to festive Asgardian victory party where Thor, looking like he'd rather be anywhere else, has a meaningful lingering chat with Lady Sif, who stops just short of holding up a sign that says, "I love you, please notice." Thor does not notice because of course he doesn't. Meanwhile, on Midgard, Jane Foster is on the world's most awkward lunch date with a man named Richard, whose only superpower is enduring painful small talk. Before Jane can explain why she's not emotionally available, something about falling for a space Viking, Darcy barrels in with news of science, specifically that her equipment is pinging again, and they need to chase those weird readings like a dog chasing a Roomba. And that's where we have it. A god with commitment issues, a party with tension, a date ruined by astrophysics, and Darcy Lewis, always and forever the real MVP of the Marvel Movie Minute. Matthew, how did these minutes hit you?
You know, I always love Darcy. I always love being back on Earth. Richard, by the way, Richard Madison, which is spelled the normal way, not the way that the Madison character, who we will later meet in, God, what show was she in? She-Hulk, spells her name. This is spelled regular Madison, but he is played by Chris O'Dowd, who is known, he's been in a number of things, but if you were a fan of the British TV show, The IT Crowd, he was one of the 2 stars of that. So he's just got a very recognizable voice, great actor. And frankly, I think he's doing his best to make this a not awkward date. The way she's kind of hiding behind her menu, she's nervous, and he just wrote hi on a napkin and kind of slips it in under the menu. I think that's pretty cute.
It's adorable. It's exactly the move there. I have no notes for Chris. My note is for Jane, who is not on the receiving end, should not have said yes to this date.
Yeah, you kind of wonder, what's happening here? Why is she being pushed in this direction? Especially because you wonder if maybe Darcy is trying to push her to it. But when Darcy shows up at the date, what is one of the first things she mentions is she says, expected to see you at home, eating all the ice cream, not showering, and brooding over. And of course, Jane is able to interrupt. But even at that point, Richard's like, oh, okay, yeah, there is another guy here. That's what I figured.
Yeah. But we have jumped ahead officially because the first awkward conversation is actually father and son.
Well, you asked me what I liked.
Okay, let it rain fire.
No. I thought these 5 minutes were I think the best 5 minutes we've gotten so far. But yeah, we do open up with Thor and his father. I do think it's worth noting that for most of the last movie, Odin was saying to Thor, "You party too much, you're not ready to be king." And today he's saying, in order to be ready to be king, you need to go party more. So there's kind of a mixed message. Thor's being asked to kind of walk a knife's edge of not partying too much, but partying enough.
Well, now he needs to get a lady. Dad's motivations have changed, right? Because before it was all about, readiness to be a grown-up. And now he's such a grown-up and he's solving the problems of the 9 realms that it's time for him to settle down. And so Dad's designs for Thor's eventual leadership involves the propriety that comes with having a bride, taking a bride.
Is it really about the throne, though, or do you think he just wants to be grandpa?
Oh.
Sometimes that's weird. He wants to have kids without having to change diapers again. Like,
yeah, right.
That's a thing.
There's something to that.
So, yeah, like it's a fine scene. He kind of, I think you gave a great description of it. What I really want to do is, you know how people sometimes take music videos, but then reshoot them with scenes from movies? The Taylor Swift song, You Were Meant for Me, which is all about a sad girl being sad because the guy doesn't notice how, perfect. Wait, no, You Were Meant for Me is a Jewel song. What's the one I'm thinking
I think
of?
it's a Jewel song, yeah. And I Was Meant for You.
No, but it's the ultimate like girl who's been friend zoned song. She wears short skirts, I wear t-shirts. You're captain and you're in the bleach. Wake up and find. See that I'm the one, isn't it? It's You Were Meant for Me. That's it. Yeah, it's still. I think it's the same night.
It's the same. It's the same title.
You Belong With Me. That's
You
it.
Belong With Me. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So a little bit of a different riff, but much more high poppiness. I've gone now 2 minutes looking for the joke, but the joke being, I want someone to recut that song video with Lady Sif just looking adoringly at Thor as he ignores her.
Yeah. Right?
Like, can you see it?
Yeah. Oh my God. She's laying it on thick.
Now, tell me about what it's like in the comics, because in the mythology, this is just who she is. Lady Sif is Thor's wife. And she's not a great warrior. She's a goddess of fertility and of the harvest, because, in many mythological cultures, those are often tied together. And her hair is specifically supposed to be a blonde, but it's the color of like the crops in autumn when they're about to be harvested. So you think of like wheat and things like that. That's the color of her hair. So It's very interesting that in this version, her hair is very dark. She's a warrior, and she's the one who's pining for him, but he's not noticing. The other important thing from mythology is, because of that, she is often the victim of Loki's pranks against Thor and her. Quite famously, among other things, he causes her to cut off all of her hair. This sends Thor to go to the dwarves to get basically like a high-tech dwarven wig. It's a very complicated story, but that's who she is in the mythology, and clearly that's not happening here.
Well, in the comics, Thor and Sif, particularly in the 60s, we've mentioned the sort of silver age of Marvel comics. Sif was introduced as a childhood friend of Thor, and later becomes one of his primary romantic partners. Right, their relationship was considered deep and noble and full of loyalty and sacrifice and a lot of like lightning-based drama and romance. Thor's love for Jane Foster creates a triangle even in the comics. I think, I have not read it, but apparently sometime in the 70s, Sif merged with Jane Foster in an attempt to save her. And that just seems like a thing that I wonder why Marvel chose to skip that edition.
I mean, that could be interesting, but of course, if you're wondering about the love triangles, there's also one that goes another way, because in another offshoot of the comics, she has a romantic relationship with. Or I'm sorry, no, she doesn't have a romantic relationship, but she's being pined after by Lear, the Celtic god of lightning. So she's crushed on by both lightning and thunder at one point in time. Okay,
there we go. Well, I think the big answer is, in the comics, what was the ultimate status of their relationship? They never married, despite Grandpa Odin's encouragement. They never tied the knot, and even as they had romantic arcs galore, and fought beside each other a lot. She is, after all, the ideal Asgardian warrior queen, and I think that was probably to the desire of many an Asgardian to see them tie the knot and become their king and queen leader.
Well, I will say it's an interesting choice of writing. For some reason, I thought that they never actually get together in the comics. So knowing that they do, because if you think about it, a lot of times when there's kind of a one true pairing that we all know they're going to wind up with, but you've got a heartthrob playing the male lead, you'll often find ways to have him be romantically linked to other people until we finally get to him getting together with the main one. And so it's interesting to me that given Chris Hemsworth is a very attractive actor, and you probably want to see him kissing lots of people on screen, that they actually do keep him true to her through all three movies. There's, you could have told this movie in one where he has really accepted that he can never be with Jane again, and he has pledged himself to marry Lady Sif. And you can tell he's not really super into it, but he's going along with it for the sake of the realm. But then when he realizes Jane is back, he's in this tough situation, and he has to maybe say something hard to Lady Sif or whatever it is. But they just cut all that out. They just say, nope, he's heartbroken. He pines after her. This is the girl he wants. This is the girl he's going to be with. And that's, they never try to play those romantic tension games, which I actually really appreciate.
Yeah, that's right. I do think, is there some practical sort of cast efficiency reason for that Jamie Alexander is not Natalie Portman in terms of, order of billing. And and they needed this relationship because they want someone who is grounded on Earth, the mortal woman who understands Thor's, humanity as he tries to become the hero that everybody knows he's destined to be. And that's the real grounded story. Having him, hook up with an Asgardian is the predictable story. So
yeah, that's true.
This is our drama.
Very much so.
Dad's trying to get him to party more. He literally says, at least pretend to enjoy yourself.
Right.
It's just, have another beer, son. And then we get this little conversation. They talk about Sif is trying to pull the heartstrings of nostalgia and get him to go off into a dark corner. Take a drink with me. Surely the All-Father could have no further task for you tonight. And that's a pretty short sequence, and it's over. I thank you for your sword and for your counsel, good Lady Sif.
Right.
And then we're peace out. Now we're on Earth.
It's still in that very high Shakespearean type language, thank you for your counsel. And here I will push back. I think it's fun to joke about the idea that Thor doesn't notice. I think he does, though. And maybe I'm giving him too much credit here, but I think with scenes like this especially, I think he recognizes how Jane feels, how Sif feels, but he recognizes that his own heart is just not available in the slightest, and that he's not able to do the things that both Sif and his father want him to. And he's kind of therefore keeping her at a distance because he doesn't want to give any hope, that he just knows, Sif, you're great, but I don't see you that way. I'm in love with someone else. Okay,
here's an interesting thought experiment. I think it is fun to joke about him not noticing because I think the first Thor movie version of Thor would not have noticed.
Absolutely.
And I think the Guardians of the Galaxy era Thor absolutely would not have noticed because he's practically a joke. And I think you're right. This Thor, we need him to notice. We need him to actually give us a little bit of heartfelt sense. But that gives us a bit of an emotional roller coaster with the MCU Thor. And I think that's what critics of Thor as a participant in the MCU have against this character, that he doesn't evolve emotionally in a consistent rate or direction.
Yeah, he has some very important evolutions. And I think even the Thor of Avengers, the first one, he's grown a lot since the first Thor movie. And then I think you're right, in the Guardians of the Galaxy and then into the Avengers saga, he definitely has some important growth. But in the middle there, it just is all kind of wrapped up. But I just wanted it to be noted that in this case, I was giving credit to both the character and the writers in this movie. So, just put that on the scoreboard.
I'm already working on your mantle award.
There we go.
Something shiny sent your way. So now we transition. We're now with Jane and Richard. We like Richard. You're right. As we open, we're talking about Chris O'Dowd, and he's wonderful. It's a little bit heartbreaking that Jane is giving him as little attention as she is.
Is there a part of you that at this point, because Richard clearly is a bit of he's a very sweet guy, but he kind of needs that strong woman in his life to take control a little bit. Do you kind of just wish like him and Lady Sif would meet up and run off together?
Oh, I never even considered that as a potential outcome. And I think you're totally there. This is she needs someone, or he needs someone who will treat him almost like a pet.
Mm-hmm.
Just take care of him and tell him what to do and when to do it. His whole pitch about the going away is hard, isn't it? I was seeing a woman that she took a job in New York. Eventually the distance killed it. And the fact that she kept sleeping with other dudes is saddest delivery. It's just awful. And at least it's that on a sort of a pitiable level that connects Jane to the conversation. She's finally there because she's sad for him.
Right. And in a way, because also I think he's made an assumption about, isn't it terrible when they go away? And this is also a chance to further reinforce how good Thor is, because I think that as much as she misses him, that's not a concern for her.
Yeah.
Which does make me wonder. And this, again, is one of my, I'm just going to say it gently, a critique of the movie, that I don't know how much Jane knows about the current level of contact Thor can have with Midgard. Because we ended, and the last time we saw Jane was when Thor broke the Bifrost, and at least to Thor's understanding, he could never contact her again. Mm-hmm. And she was basically the person waiting by the phone who didn't realize the phone had been disconnected. Mm-hmm. And so I don't know, has he contacted her? Has he let her know, hey, I can contact you, but I just can't because I'm, got to clean up these 9 realms or something? Is she still waiting by the phone, but she's waiting? I mean, maybe she's going on this date because she's accepted he's never going to call. You kind of just want to know what's going on there.
Yeah. That's actually a really good point, because he has been zipping around the realms for an indeterminate amount of time at this point. Right. I get you're busy, Thor. I get you're busy fighting all the wars on all the realms, but there is a sense that he could take a minute. So it's interesting about the Bifrost and the destruction of the Bifrost is that the Bifrost has been destroyed not once, but several times. And the consequences seem to vary depending on who's writing the thing, and I don't know what grudges they have against any particular characters. But in any of those, we get the Ragnarok arc in the early 2000s. It was destroyed again in 2010. In the Siege arc, and then Mighty Thor, Galactus threatens Asgard. This was the Matt Fraction run. It wasn't outright destroyed, but it certainly took significant damage. The fallout is usually handled as we have seen it. It's stranded gods, right? The Bifrost is down. The Bifrost is down. The Asgardians are stranded across realms or on Earth. And Thor has been stranded many times, asking, mortals for rides, I guess. So when this is what's so interesting, because the Bifrost is usually rebuilt and has some sort of upgrades or magical workarounds, and Heimdall's there and doing his thing. And the way the MCU handles it is a hand wave. It's like, this is just something that we do. Jane never has the benefit of understanding not how just the thing was destroyed, but how it is rebuilt. And when we left Thor and the Bifrost was destroyed, the end of that first movie, we were concerned, right? That this was something we were going to have to see. And they never actually let us see how they resolved the stranding in Asgard.
Which I will say, I just praised the movie in terms of what they did with Thor during this waiting period. But I think this is one of the reasons why Jane has never been quite as strong a character as I would want, especially from Natalie Portman, because I think this could have been an even more interesting movie if she actually was kind of comfortable moving on. If she had gone through this period, if she'd, eaten all the ice cream and listened to all the sad songs, and now was kind of excited about going on dates. And then it was into that world where she really had moved on that Thor comes back to her. And now we have some kind of romantic tension of, can he win her back?
Yeah. Is it really tension? Like how long did you feel the tension?
We in this movie or the one I'm conjuring in my head? Like, yeah, in this one, there's none at all. I think it could have been at least a little interesting to do something like that. But
yeah,
just because to me, it makes her feel kind of weak that from her perspective, he did abandon her. He's not been in contact at all. And if I remember what's going to happen in the next, 80 minutes or so, she's going to pretty quickly jump right back once he shows up.
Yeah, pretty much.
So we'll see.
Yeah.
Now, speaking, though, of zipping around as you were earlier, you were kind enough to zip along to the plot points, which, I always like to talk about. But if people have listened to past Marvel movie minutes, past seasons, you know that a lot of times our decision is, why would we talk about the plot and the character development when we could be talking about the weird tech that's shown for 5 or 10 seconds, basically in the background while characters are having an interesting conversation? And when I look at our show notes, I notice that a question has been asked and then answered. Because while Thor and Odin were having that conversation on the balcony, a number of people were having those fights down in the yard, including Lady Sif, with glowy weapons. So, Pete, I ask you the question, what is that glowy stuff?
I needed to know the answer to this, and I'm only sort of sated. I'll tell you that. Like they had essentially lightsabers in some sequences, and that's exhilarating. It feels like something that I haven't seen them make good on. It turns out in their laser weapons, I'll call them laser weapons, are actually runic or arcane enchantments. So our Asgardian weapons tend to be imbued with some sort of magical blessing or rune, and it makes them more powerful and certainly more durable and responsive to specific users, right? We've already been trained to expect this. It's Mjolnir's worthiness enchantment, right? It's how Thor can pick it up, and that can be taken away. And so these energy pulses are likely a CGI shorthand for that kind of magic, right? But the Asgardians also use advanced materials that can conduct or channel cosmic energy. It's clearly imbued in the tools around the Bifrost, the sort of elemental energy, and it's something that we see. They have this kind of Norse flair, just the way the Wakandans have vibranium. Like it seems like every race is bringing something to the table, and this is Asgard. And of course, it also could just be like, training lights, like it's energy that's just like, hey, we're going to simulate battle conditions and let these trainees experience, a force of impact on enchanted weapons without actually hurting them. So I think there's a lot going on potentially in this training, but I do know I think the first option, these are enhanced weapons because that's what Asgard is the most likely.
Right. See, I'm going to focus on that last option, though, because I think what you're telling me is that they're playing swords and shield laser tag.
Kind of. And don't you want to? Yeah.
As someone who played a lot of laser tag when I was a kid, that certainly does sound fun. So
yes, it does. Yes, it does. I fenced as a young lad. I was a fencer, and I always loved the way scores were counted. The little button at the end of the foil and the sensors on the vests. I just felt like that's what we're seeing here. It's just everybody's doing it without being plugged into anything.
I love it. It. Let's get to the most magical moment in the 5 minutes, and probably I think the most magical moment in the first 15 minutes of this episode of this movie. Darcy shows up.
Oh my God, she's just a breath of fresh air.
Talk to me about your feelings about Darcy going into this movie.
Oh, I love Darcy. I've missed Darcy. I want Darcy in everything. I think Darcy makes every scene better. In some cases, Darcy makes scenes palatable at all. And I think she's written just right. But most importantly, she's cast just right. I just think this is one of those pairings of performer to script that is it's just perfect. It is chef's kiss perfect.
The performer is Kat Dennings, by the way. I don't know if we did anything on her. Wait, did we do a whole thing on her when we got started?
I don't believe we did.
So she's best known now probably for her role in the sitcom Two Broke Girls, in which she's very kind of, you can see a lot of who that character becomes in this. I think Darcy is a little more kind of an innocent, but in that show, she's very much kind of the wisecracking, sassy, very quick to, show her friend who's a little more the innocent, the real ropes of living in New York City. But hysterically funny. And I think I have loved what they've done with her in the MCU because, she starts out as like the college kid who doesn't really know anything. Now she's kind of the grounded best friend who's very socially unaware, but still going to have a lot of fun with everything. And then by the time of WandaVision, and I think now she's been in one or two other projects, but WandaVision especially, she's just like a fully recognized member of S.H.I.E.L.D. who's doing a lot of important work while still being hilariously funny. And one of the best, she's always just the best part of any scene she's in.
She really is. She's wonderful. And she, she's stuck with the MCU. Although I have to say my very favorite Kat Dennings contribution to cinematic arts is Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist. She is Nora. With opposite Michael Cera, which is a wonderful sort of throwback movie for people who have soft hearts for romance and music. It is it's a love letter to people who love mixtapes. So nice. Just love it, and she's fantastic.
So what role is she playing in this scene here today?
The social grenade. And she bowls in here and takes over the date. And I love the 3-second turn where Richard asks for wine. She's, I think it's a great twist. I think he is appropriately awkward and a little bit shamed. And then she starts into her sort of railroad of the conversation. So I showed up to work at your lab / your mom's house, fully expecting you to be moping around in your pajamas, eating ice cream and obsessing about who is just a perfect way to take over the scene. And I don't know if she knows that she's being sort of willfully obtuse, that she's interrupting a date, or if she's really just oblivious.
Well, and this is the other question, is because I do think there's kind of like a girl's girl relationship between her and Jane to some extent. At least certainly she wants one. And I feel like she'd be all over asking Jane, wait, do you have a date today? Are you going out on a date? I want to support you on the date. And so the fact that she doesn't know about that makes me wonder, is this something that Jane is kind of keeping secret? She doesn't want it to be a big deal. Did she get fixed up by someone? But I want to know, how did this happen? What did Darcy know about it? And it's a good writing trick of, you've created this incredibly awkward situation and there's really no way out. And so having Darcy just show up and say, hi, I'm here now, I'm going to take the plot in a new direction. It feels a little Deus Ex Machina, but it kind of makes sense. There's really nowhere else for this date to go.
No, that's very true. And I actually think it was timed perfectly, because just when we start getting some sympathy from Jane for Richard, it's interrupted and we don't have to belabor the awkwardness of this date any longer. Right. We just get to move into the funny. And the funny includes, here's some scientific equipment I brought with me. You should look at it because it's either broken or it's pinging just the way it would ping if you know who was coming. And right. And the minute ends on one of the great lines of Darcy's at the perfect cut. It looks like the readings that Eric was rambling about. She turns to Richard and says, our friend Eric kind of went banana balls. End of minute. It's perfect.
Because remember, one thing we definitely did see earlier in this movie was him running around naked at Stonehenge. So he's clearly having some things going on. He had his mind controlled by Loki at the end of Avengers, so it's understandable. Right. But there's a lot going on. And her way of talking is, I forget the exact details from the first movie, but she kind of just wanted a college internship to have a college internship. She got assigned to them. And she's clearly that person who's kind of just in it to get the grade. She's not super invested in it. And you hear that in the way, and now I think she really loves it, but she still doesn't know anything about it. And so you hear this, the way she talks about, all that scientific equipment you're looking at, you might want to start looking at it again.
Yeah.
I thought you would do something a little more scientific. Like she doesn't know what it means, but she just says, you guys just do science. Like, please do science now.
Well, that's the interesting thing. You already brought up that she becomes kind of a member of S.H.I.E.L.D. as some sort of an analyst or tech.
Mm-hmm.
And what's interesting about this is it starts here with her being sort of daffy, or it starts with the last movie. But I wonder at what point she does know more than she says she knows. Right. There's something about this character that feels like there's a sham. There's a con she's pulling, an intellectual con. And she for some reason needs people to know or not to know that she knows more than she thinks she does.
Yeah.
Or than they think she does. Yeah. I like watching her evolve, and I think Kat Dennings is fantastic for it. There's nothing in the mythology about Jane being in London, right?
Not that I can think of.
Okay, we've run out of mythology runway because we're no longer in Asgard.
I did look up to see if like the restaurant they were eating at was some particularly famous restaurant in London. It's not.
It's not.
Because it is a restaurant that, as he points out, only has 3 things on the menu, which like that's what you get like when you're at a wedding or something like that. But a restaurant that just has 3 options, like that's generally it's because it's a pretty well known place or something.
Right.
But nope, that's what they have here.
The establishing shot that we get for this is a shot over London, and it's over the Thames, and it shows the Shard, and then they're in the restaurant that is in the air. There's some sort of they're in some sort of high rise.
Right.
Are we to presume that this restaurant is in the Shard?
Oh, I never thought about that. It might be.
I mean, at least they want us to believe that the restaurant is a restaurant in the Shard. Probably a non-existent restaurant in the Shard. The rest of the minute, this is a fairly pedestrian minute. I think the most interesting thing that we have in terms of the raw filmmaking is actually Sad Boy Shower, where I think the lighting coming off of the party and then into moist Hemsworth is some of the most dramatic and beautiful lighting that we have in these 5 minutes. The rest is fairly, banal kind of approach to. We do get some slightly slowed party drama as they pan through the Asgardian festivities. And obviously we're shooting much from below the balcony shot that we spoke of earlier. And then this takes us full into modern, single cam romantic sequence in our London bit. And so I don't have a lot to learn from the filmmaking or even the sound or the editing. It is a competent set of 5 minutes that just moves the story along.
Well, and I will say it is a fun way of, I think one of the things that is both charming and at times challenging about this movie is it's trying to merge a number of different genres. And one is the kind of the Shakespearean that we've talked about. But here, especially in that scene you just mentioned, they're really drawing on some like very cliched and not always in a bad way, but like some of the classic tropes of the rom-com. Mm-hmm. Because one of them is you cut back and forth between our 2 characters, both being sad about not being with each other, but in different ways. And so Thor is, in both cases, having a suitor that's interested in them. Thor has Lady Sif, but he's not interested. He goes off to be in a shower, so we can remember that as impressive as Kat Dennings' chest is, Thor's pectorals are probably even bigger. And then we get the other part of it, which is Jane having this date with Richard. And in both cases, she's more awkward. She's trying to move forward. He's not moving forward, but they're both clearly like not okay because they're not with each other.
Yeah, it is the setup to their great reunion, which is yet to come.
It will be a reunion.
Do we have anything happening meanwhile elsewhere in the MCU right now, or is everybody just taking a break?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, we had this idea. I was the one pushing of let's talk about what's happening in the MCU this whole time. And then remember, this entire movie is over maybe 72 hours.
Yeah,
so
right.
There's really not much.
Where we started is where we end.
Yeah, pretty much. Right. But yeah, so we'll and certainly nothing that we're seeing now is going to have an influence on later MCU stuff, but there certainly will be a lot of that as we get later into the movie.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, this has been awesome as always. And so continuing our tradition for our rankings, what are your top 5 or maybe just top 3 rom-coms?
Oh, outstanding. Are we doing it right now in public, or are we saving it for the end?
We're saving for the end. We're just telling people that, I wanted people to know how much thought and planning and pre-discussion goes into what we're giving the members.
Now they really know us.
Exactly. And of course, you can become a member for only $5 a month, $55 a year. And if you do that, you're going to get ad-free versions of these episodes. You're going to get bonus content at the end of every episode. And you're going to get some special bonus episodes. And of course, it's not just for what we're doing right now, season 8. You are just a member of the Marvel Movie Minute. So you can go back and listen to all the other Marvel Movie Minutes, including about the good MCU movies. And you'll get to hear all of that stuff all by just becoming a member.
And you can find that at marvelmovieminute.com. You can sign up right there. We'd love to have you over there. And, if you want to chat with us, truestory.fm/Discord will take you over to our general invitation page. Once you become a member, you can get access to all of the double and triple secret channels over there. And we would love you to be a part of that as well.
There we try to keep up to date with conversations about what's happening in the MCU. So, for example, I can tell you, I'm really excited to talk about the Thunderbolts movie that's going to come out. This episode will come out probably 3 months after that. But, just it's going to remind you, like, whatever else is happening in the MCU in the late summer and fall, myself and Pete and a lot of the other people who've been involved with Marvel Movie Minute will all be in that Discord, happy to chat with you and just tell you how wrong you are with whatever silly opinion you might have.
Setting it up perfectly. I think this is just the mood we're trying to cultivate there.
There we go.
Thank you, everybody, for hanging out and listening to this show. We appreciate you so much. Thanks for your time and attention. We will see you right back here next week for another 5 minutes of Thor: The Dark World.
May the Force be with you.